Welcome to the Jeff Knows Inc. Entrepreneurial Podcast with your host, Jeff Lopes. Jeff has over 2 decades experience as a serial entrepreneur, building brands like Kimura from his home basement to a multi-million-dollar global brand that has sold over 250,000 pairs of boxing gloves. Jeff's here to educate, guide, and drive you on the process of bringing your ideas and dreams to reality with the inspiring stories from some of the top business minds.
Welcome to episode 113 of the Jeff Knows Inc. podcast. I'm your host, Jeff Lopes. Super excited to have on from Australia, Leroy Faure. Leroy is the founder of Fit Dad Lifetsyle, podcast, supplements, fitness line, and brand. Sit back, enjoy. Great conversation today, guys. We are live on the Jeff Knows Inc. podcast. I'm your host, Jeff Lopes. Super excited to have from across the ocean from Australia, Leroy Faure. What's up, brother? How are you?
Mate, very well, thank you. And yourself?
Good. We're going a little time difference. We're going to be sharing shows, and Leroy's actually at home today. When I'm on his show, I'll be probably most likely be at home as well because the time difference is 6 a.m. in Canada when we're recording this. So I'm excited to have him on because there's 2 things that Leroy does that is very close to my heart, is fatherhood and entrepreneurship, and he is driven in both of them. So I'm excited to talk to him today. He's got a podcast, he's got a supplement company, a lifestyle brand, so there's tons of value there. When I start our podcast, I usually start off by allowing the guests to talk about what they're currently doing and what they're up to. I'm going to change it up today. We're going to talk about Leroy growing up. Where'd you grow up? How many siblings you had? Were you always a hustler? Like, give me a rundown of you growing up and what were you all about?
Yeah, mate. So a quick snapshot. I grew up in southwest Victoria, which is down the southern half of Australia. Small country town, only about 10,000 people. Went to public school for a little bit, then transferred over to a private school because it was better sporting endeavors. One brother, so he is 3 years younger than me. So, yeah, grew up, both parents still together. I need to keep banging my knee. I keep interrupting your video. But, mate, I grew up with the whole vision of wanting to play AFL, which is Australian rules football. So I'm not sure if you've too familiar with that game over there. Mate, that was my whole vision. I didn't plan on going to university, college, or anything like that. It was football. And as a direct result of that, I didn't put in at school. I hated school. I didn't want to be there. All I wanted to do was finish school so I could go to footy training that evening and then play the games on the weekend. So as it is over here in Australia, and it has changed a bit now, but back then you finished school when you were about 17, 18 years old, and you basically had a 2-year window. You either got drafted to the big league at 18 years old, or if you weren't there by 20, it was basically too late, move on. So I had an opportunity. I went and trained at one of the teams over here for a preseason to try and pick up one of the spots, and didn't get picked up. So it was at that stage where I was nearly 20 and I decided to join the army. That was the next best thing. I had a heap of, relatives that had been in the military, and the way they described it, traveling the world and, a footy-like atmosphere where you're around, 20 or 30 blokes and you're training hard and you're partying even harder and you're doing all this. And mate, that sounded like the next best thing. And so for the next 6 years, I joined the military and served there and went on one deployment overseas during that time. And that's what led to, I guess, the whole fitness and entrepreneurial journey.
So when you got deployed, where did you deploy to?
So I deployed to East Timor, which is in Indonesia, or just off Indonesia over here in Australia. It was more a peacekeeping role.
Yeah.
So there was a few things, that happened over there, but ultimately it was a peacekeeping mission. Later on, and more of recent, I've actually went over to the Middle East, to Afghanistan, and did a bit of private security stuff as well.
Oh, very cool. I'm going to ask you a good question. And we speak to a lot of athletes, and a common thing comes up when you're talking to especially young athletes that dedicate so much time and effort to becoming pro at one thing, that becomes their identity. Was that your case at any point?
I think so. Look, growing up where we grew up, the football club or the footy culture was very much indented into the community. So,
Yeah.
it was a football town. There wasn't, like in Australia, you have two major codes. You have AFL, which is Australia Football League, and then you have the rugby. And back in Victoria, it's very AFL. There's only recently, about 10 years ago or so, an NRL team even put in that state. So it was very, I guess, focused on that sport. And as a guy growing up, you sort of didn't have too many other options. It wasn't like, I'm assuming over in Canada where you have the ice hockey and you have the basketball, then you have the footy, and then you have, the soccer and everything else. It was pretty much focused on AFL during the winter and cricket in the summer, and that was about it. It was, so mate, yeah, I think the whole, was that my main focus? And yes, I wanted to be at that elite level. And I did make a few different representative sides, which sort of gave me that confidence that I was at least on par or had the skill set to potentially get there. There's obviously no guarantees. You've got 10, 20,000 people playing the game and I think 200 spots for the draft. So it's, you've got to be really in that top 1%. And, I probably let myself go a little bit after school because, you applied for the draft and didn't really hear anything. So we went off on schoolies, which is like the end of high school sort of spring break or, party for a couple of weeks. And it was actually in the middle of that schoolies. I got a phone call from the football club saying, we want you to be here Monday morning at 7 a.m. And, I got this phone call thinking, shit, this is my one opportunity. And here I am, drinking with the boys for the last 4 or 5 days. I am not in a state. I haven't been training. I've been, so I think that dampened the thing and any opportunity of getting, picked up in the long run as well, because, I wasn't 100% in after, that period. I sort of thought my opportunity had come and gone, and,
And sports is such a mental game too, right?
Mate, 100%, yeah. And then I was only 17 at the time, so I was, as most 17-year-olds, I was dedicated. But over here in Australia, 18 is the legal age where you can start going out. So it was all of a sudden we could go out to the nightclubs, we could drive the cars, we could all these different things that I hadn't been privy to. And I think it was the temptation of that balancing act of, right, well, I've got all my mates who have been 18 all year and my birthday's in 4 or 5 days and I can now do what they've been doing all year. And then you've got this dream over here, which, it's sort of that pendulum that was sort of swinging side to side.
Yeah. I mean, with yourself, so you get to the Army, you said fitness became a part of who you are and your identity at that point. It started switching over when you got more into the fitness aspect. When did that shift and how did that shift?
Yeah, so I was always into fitness. So obviously playing football and the military.
But I meant more of the actual training side, like in your head to flip this to this training side to actually make it a career.
Yeah, so I actually got medically discharged from the Army. I had a back injury, that a couple of bulge discs in a slip vertebrae. So my military career didn't end where I wanted it to end. And I was lucky enough to have a personal training course behind me that I had done whilst I was in the military. So when you leave the infantry, there's not too many roles that you can take out of the infantry and transcend over to civilian life. A lot of people when they leave, they join the mines or they go, laboring or, try and do a trade or something like that. So I had no other option other than, sort of double down on this fitness qualification that I'd picked up a couple of years prior. And I moved to Noosa, which is a couple of hours above Brisbane on the east coast of Australia, and started my own business. I had opportunities to go work in a gym, but I just didn't want to be, I've just come off 6 years of being told what to do, when to do it, and how to do it. And I didn't want any authority over me from that point forward. So yeah, I started my own business, and for the first year, really relied heavily on my wife's income to help support us while we grew this group fitness business.
Let me jump in there. So you got married when you were still in the military?
No, I actually got married the year I left.
The year you left.
So yeah.
Okay.
So yeah, we started up a group fitness company and ran that for about 6 years before selling that in 2017.
And that was you and your wife that ran that company?
Yes.
Partner? Yeah, just you two.
Yeah.
And was that more the one-on-one training, like more the fitness classes, or more personal training?
Yeah, it was actually called Bootcamp Noosa. So we used to run group fitness. So between 20 or 30 people each class. And I think we sold it with about 120 members.
Very, very cool. So when you sold that, what was your mindset of selling that? Obviously, at that point, it was decently successful. What was your mindset when you're selling that company and exiting it?
Mate, I just got bored.
You're a natural entrepreneur by heart.
Yeah, mate, I'm one of those ones that have got 100 different ideas every 3 days. And I just got a bit mundane of doing the same routine, like waking up, going to, the class, seeing the same people. And to tell you the truth, it is the dream job. It was paying 6 figures. It was, I was doing 2 hours in the morning, 2 hours in the evening. I had all this time in the middle of the day for the family, but it wasn't fulfilling me anymore. And I just didn't want to, do it. And I said to the wife one day, I think I'm done. It just doesn't interest me anymore. And I had this opportunity to go do a bit of work overseas as well in the private security world. And I thought, I'm going to do it because it's an itch I need to sort of tick off. It's something I need to do personally and sort of mentally tick that box in my head. And, I went and took the opportunity, and, I ended up going back to the group fitness scene last year, and then COVID come, and that was a sort of a icing on the cake, to tell you the truth, of really going, look, you don't need to do this. You sold the business for a reason. You don't need to be doing this. It doesn't make you happy. And when the government shut us down, like they did with every other business for that short period of time, it was the perfect chance to just go, look, let's go full time on the Fit Dad Lifestyle. Let's see what we can do, and let's, go all in rather than going 10% over here for this business and 20% over here for that and 30% for that. And it was the best decision that we could have ever made.
So I'll dive into that in a second. So
yeah,
when you went to the private security sector, how long did you do that for?
On and off for about 3 years. So
were you
8 weeks
how
on.
long would you take off? I mean, obviously you're married at that time. Did you have children already at that time?
Yes, yeah. So we had 2 kids. It was
That's
8 weeks
hard.
on, 4 weeks off. So yeah, it was pretty tough. And that's why I say on and off, because I did the first couple of swings, 8 weeks on, 4 weeks off, as it was meant to be. And then I went as a casual after that, because the time away just didn't, match up with what I wanted, my life to be as a father, first and foremost. The money was great. And, the time off when you got home was amazing, but living your life for that 8 weeks through, Zoom and FaceTime and all these different things, it just wasn't how I wanted to do things.
Especially when your kids are that young, you're missing so much. Those 8 weeks are such a big gap.
Yeah.
And you did that for how long? You said almost 3 years?
Yeah, on and off for about 3 years. So we were traveling the world. So every break, every month off, we would be like over in America one break, and Bali the next, and Thailand the next. And like we were living the good life and, seeing a lot of the world. And it was amazing for that 4 weeks. But then Dad's back at work for 8 weeks. And it was like, it just didn't pan out how I wanted to. But yeah, it sort of ticked that box that I needed to tick from a personal and career standpoint. And
Can I ask you a question?
Yeah, I'm glad I'm good.
You keep driving into that. What do you mean it clicked that tick? Was that a goal of yours? Was that something in your head you wanted to do? Like, what you keep diving to that? So why do you say that?
Yeah, mate. I think because when you're in the military, and I was in the military during, a massive, I guess, campaign or military campaign over 20 odd years in Afghanistan, and I never got to deploy over to the Middle East. I only got to deploy over in Asia. So for me, in a weird way, it sort of tick that box of being able to get over there. And even though the job wasn't the same, even though the role wasn't the same, and you weren't with the same group of guys that you were with, in a weird way, it sort of gave me that,
feeling of completion.
Yeah, I think so. Sort of just that chapter, just closed that chapter for me and allowed me to move on.
Interesting. So I love your branding, and I'm all about branding. That's one thing we dive into, and we really focus with all our companies is the branding aspect. And I teach a lot of branding as well. When you started the whole branding aspect with the colors, the logos, the concept, what went through your head? Because I mean, you're targeting a very niche market. Yes. And that's what I do too. One of my companies is Man's Purpose. We coach entrepreneurial dads. My book is called Entrepreneurial Dad. That's my target audience as well. So when you're targeting that audience, it's a very specific audience when you're looking at a supplement that could probably range so far. Where was your mind? And I think it's brilliant, don't get me wrong, but where was your mind, and how did you come to the conclusion of understanding this is my target audience, this is who I'm going to target, even though it's a smaller demographic, this is who I'm going to go after? And how did that branding, how did that concept all come together for the Fit Dad Lifestyle?
Yeah, so basically, being in the fitness industry, we ran the boot camp, which was the group fitness, and then we also took groups around the world. So we took fitness retreats to Bali, Thailand, Everest Base Camp as one of my other businesses that I had. And the kids always traveled with us, not to Everest Base Camp, but whenever we went to, Bali or Thailand, they were always there. And we were always just filming different stuff that we were doing. And, we were getting questions all the time, like, oh, how do you, what workout are you doing today with your kids? And we'll post the videos up, or it was when social media wasn't really pages and Instagram. It was just your personal account. And we got back from one of those holidays, and one of my clients was a photographer. And I said, hey, can you do a photo shoot? I want to do an ebook, because at the time ebooks were starting to be, the new buzzword. And, I'll give you a free month of training. You do some photos and we'll call it even. So anyway, we did the photo shoot, and I sort of sat on that photo shoot in a folder on my computer and never really thought anything of it. And it wasn't until I was actually overseas working, and it was one night we had nothing on, and I was bored, and I'm like, I'm going to start this ebook. So I started putting together all the different pictures and started writing, all these different, things for dads about, motivation and what's your why and goal setting and nutrition and supplementation and all the workout plans and pictures based upon what we had. And I sent it out to a few guys, and they said, shit, this is really good. You should be selling this. And I didn't really think of anything at the time. I'm like, actually, I might do that. So I spent the next 2, 3, 4 weeks, because, there was a lot of downtime over there, putting this together. I'm like, I'm just going to chuck it on Amazon, sell it for $10, and I'll sell $1 million a month, and game over. I'm happy. Mate, I sold 3 copies in my first 2 months, and it was just heartbreaking. I think I actually never touched it again for about 6 to 12 months, because I built this ebook that I thought was going to sell millions of copies, because it was this masterpiece. And
let me dive in, sir. Is it not crazy how, I've been an entrepreneur for 25 plus years. Is it not crazy how a lot of people that are non-entrepreneurs, and they work the 9-to-5 job, and they look at us and they see this freedom, this financial freedom, or this stuff. They don't understand it's not always wins, it's wins and losses, and you're just hoping you have more wins stacked than the losses. And it's also the mental game, because you put it up, you have this vision, you have this goal that it's going to be this next big thing, and it doesn't originally take off. That's a mentally very draining. So 100%. Where was your mindset with that all, when that all happened? Because I want people to understand this. It's not always that those pretty bright lights, right? It's sometimes very draining mentally. And it's you have to keep picking yourself up sometimes to keep going, right? So give somebody a little rundown.
This ebook, I knew how to work a computer and, build websites, all that sort of, stuff to a basic level. But I spent 50, 60 hours putting this book together in the most, what I thought was perfect, and it come across really well, and the information was great. And, to basically, sell 3 copies, I ended up giving it away to friends and family, just to have some feedback and saying what's wrong with it. And everyone was saying, all that smoke and mirrors, like lifting you up and giving you pats on the back. And it's like, there's something not quite right. And anyway, so I pulled it off all the Amazon stores and all this kind of stuff, and didn't really think of anything of it for another, few months or whatever the case was. And we went over to Bali, and we had this villa, and we were training every day, me and my wife. And we started filming a few of the workouts and putting it up. And, they're all, I guess, Fit Dad, Fit Family inspired routines. And we chucked them on Facebook, and it just blew up. And people wanted to know what routines we're doing, and wanted to know, how we were keeping fit and healthy.
How long ago was this?
Mate, this was 2018.
Okay.
I reckon.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, and then all of a sudden I decided, okay, well, I can't keep replying to all you guys individually. I'm going to start a group. So I started it for the dads because, I didn't want to get in the female space. I thought it was too flooded because, there'd always been stuff out there for the females and for the mothers and all this. And I thought for a second, a lot of these people asking questions are fathers like myself. They're in the mines, they're FIFO, they're working away, they're in the army still. And, I'm going to create this little community. So we started up with just a group. I had my ebook, I had my group and friends and family. And then it just started snowballing. All of a sudden I was getting messages, can I add my friend to this group? I'm like, yeah, sure. Add them along. And, then, mate, what sort of started as a little, I guess, little hobby turned into something, pretty crazy as it is right now. But all because I guess we sort of just, had that tenacity to keep moving forward and, not give in, but also, not throw that dream away and have that regret, I guess.
How big is your community now, roughly?
I think our group is about 4,000 dads, so it's not that big.
That's a pretty hefty group. This is your Facebook group?
Yeah, that's just our Facebook group. I think the podcast, it roughly generates about 2,000 to 3,000 downloads an episode. The Facebook page and Instagram page are about 26, 27,000 or something like that.
Yeah.
Which we actually got verified on Facebook about a month or two ago, which has helped everything, due to a bit of PR that we received. And mate, everything's starting to move in the right direction. The business only was 2 years old, not too long ago. And, up until 12 months ago, it was completely, run as an online training platform. Supplements was never part of the plan and never, sort of part of the idea, but sort of born out of necessity of people continuously asking, what we recommend and what we take personally. And that's where the Fit Dad Fuel was sort of born from.
Yeah. And it's a lot of people have to understand that too. When it comes to businesses, it's a lot of entrepreneurs have like you said before, they have so many different ideas. So you're scattered. But once you could have your ground, your roots, and then everything starts growing off that, like this, they work hand in hand. You have the clientele, you have everything. Supplements are perfect. Apparel, like it all works harmonized together, right? So I think that's what makes it so amazing. But it is a very crowded space. So I love how you picked your niche and your branding. How do you navigate through the crowded space?
Mate, to tell you the truth, I sort of stay in my lane. I went through the stage of following all the dad accounts and, trying to, join forces and like trying to do different things and, collaborate and all that. And then I was getting distracted because then I was noticing what, this guy over here was doing and then trying to do a little bit of that in my business. And I'd notice what this person's doing and trying to replicate a bit of that. And I'm like, why are you trying to be all these different people because of the perceived, value that they may be giving to their own audience? So I went through and unfollowed basically 95% of these pages that, I was following and just started doing my own thing, started being a lot more real. So, 2-3 years ago on Instagram, I was one of those ones that if it didn't get the likes, I'd delete the picture. And if it didn't have the right filter and if it didn't have all this kind of, perceived, professionalism or, perfection, then it would be gone. And now I get on there, I'd get on there like this. I'd get on there and curse. I'd tell it how it is. I don't give a shit if there's, people giving me negativity. I'll give it back to them straight away. And I'm sort of at that stage now where I'm comfortable with myself and I'm comfortable with the brand and, the message that we're delivering. And I think that's reiterated by, the amount of messages and, the amount of emails that we get on a weekly basis of,
you know what it is, too, Leroy, is social media has become this fake facade.
Yeah.
Everybody's showing their best side 24/7. So the minute you come across and be authentic with yourself, that literally pulls you right through the crowd. And when you
100%.
consistently come authentic, if you go to my page and look at me, yesterday I posted 2 things. My son's birthday picture with him. The next thing, I took my 13, 14-year-old and I did their first driving lesson. I put them in a parking lot and I let them drive my Jeep. And I post what I post. And whether people like it or don't like it, I'm authentic. And because of that, it's grown at a rapid rate. My personal account, I would say personal branding, because I'm who I am. You see, what you see is who you get. And because of that, I think being authentic is something that's so it's something that's so special still, because like I said, with social media, everybody's posting a picture with the nicest cars or the nicest house, or you hear stories, people renting a jet for the day and going with the photographer. Like, I know people have done this. They literally will rent a jet for the day, Leroy, and bring out like 5-6 outfits with a photographer, take 5 or 6 different shots so they could post over the next 3 or 4 months of them being in the jet, which is crazy. So I think being authentic is a very special thing. And I think people attract to that a lot. And it might take a little longer to build. You won't get the initial reaction sometimes, but you're getting the good long-term relationships, networking. So I think that's very, very special. So with your branding, okay, let's talk about supplements quickly. So you dove into supplements. Where was your mindset with the supplements? Because that's another industry that's very, very packed. It's a very hard industry to dive into. Are you all online? Are you in retail? Like, where's your mindset with that, and how did you start navigating into that?
Yeah, so basically it started because we kept getting asking, what do you take when you train? What do you recommend I take when you would train? And, what brands, where do you buy it from? And all these different things. And after about 3 months of giving the same answer back and forth, someone said, you should just do your own supplements and we can all just buy them. And I'm like, fuck, that's not a bad idea. So I put a post in the group and said, I'm going to go down and, do a bit of research and development and try and find a manufacturer to do this for us. What do you all want? And they all said, just give us a pre-workout to start with. I'm like, right, let's go develop a pre-workout and we'll come back. And anyway, I had this guy in the group reach out and said, I want you to meet these 2 guys. They own Australia's biggest or largest manufacturing plant. And I'm sure they'd love to hear your story and, get connected with them. So anyway, we set up the meeting and, lo and behold, they're both fathers and they're both, similar ages and, had known about the brand and known about, what we were doing and part of the community. And they said, let's bring it to market. Let's do an energy range. Let's do a hydration range. Let's do a recovery sleep range, and let's go big. Let's, blow it up. And mate, I was very blessed and lucky to be able to find these 2 guys who have helped us along the way bring this to life and, navigate a lot of those, I guess, pitfalls and places that we could have went wrong, because we sort of got our hand held through the whole process from working with their food scientists for, 6 months developing the product range, then, working with the research and development team to what I thought fathers struggled with and what I wanted the supplements to have in them to sort of counteract. And, that whole process of, choosing, designers to work with for your thing, where to buy the packaging, where to buy the boxes, what platform to set it up on, I was able to get pointed in the right direction. And I still did everything myself.
Yeah, but you saved a lot of time and a lot of money wasted on errors. 100%.
Yeah,
100%. Are they partners with you?
Yes, yeah. So they're partners in the whole business now. So it was just the supplement, but then we yeah, we had a bit of a restructure on the back end, and we've put it as part of the whole thing now. So yeah, mate, it's I thought it was the right thing to do because of the help that they gave me. That I thought it was, yeah, definitely the right move to also give them part of the whole piece rather than just the supplementation side of things.
Yeah, I love that. I mean, I've built about 8 or 9 companies and I've exited, and 2 of them I've had partners with, and they're both poor experiences, but you always hear great stories with partners as well, right? So it's having the right mixture and having obviously those gentlemen, they're going to actually magnify and speed up the process so much more. And I love what you said there, because it's you have to. A lot of entrepreneurs they're always, this is mine. I don't want to let go of it, and they don't look at the long term or the long game, because I rather have 20% of a $60 million company than 100% of $1 million company, right? Just having that mindset of just the long-term game. And you obviously had a vision of the long-term game. That's why you allow these guys in. So I appreciate that very much. What does it mean to be a father to you?
Mate, it is one of the most amazing, I guess, blessings that, you can ever get. And it is, I wish like, I never wanted kids when I was in the army due to obvious reasons and, not being there and obviously being away. But I wish I had kids when I was 18. Like, it is, I don't know why I waited till I think I was 28 when I had my
How old are you, Leroy?
I'm 35.
So you're a baby still. I'm 44.
Yeah.
So I started I got married at 27 and I had my daughter at 29, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah. 29, yeah. But
yeah.
Are you gonna have any kids?
No, so our youngest daughter, she was born 2 weeks ago, yesterday. So that's
congratulations on that.
Yeah, thank you. And mate, yeah, that's it. It's done and dusted. I was always set on 2 boys. Like we had 2 boys or 2 kids in general, sorry, because from a traveling aspect, we were always traveling around the world, and it just made sense.
Everything
2 adults, 2 kids.
It's crazy. Everything's built for 4s when you travel.
Yeah, definitely. And mate, I was never against a 3rd, but I was sort of selfishly looking at the fact it's so much easier. Our boys are our age now. We don't need to worry about nappies. We don't need to worry about all these different, things that, newborns take from you. And my wife, she has been an absolute tremendous support with everything I've ever done. She's never said no to any dream, aspiration, goal that I might be trying to go for. She's always been the biggest supporter, the biggest help, and helping out with everything that she can behind the scenes, as well as, bringing up the kids and looking after them when I was overseas and all this kind of stuff. All she wanted was a 3rd kid. And I thought, why are you being so selfish? Like, you've got your biggest supporter giving you everything over here, and all your wife, wants is to have another baby. And, your only reason is it might interrupt your travel plans. Well, COVID come along and travel wasn't happening anymore. So we sat down and had a discussion. We're like, yeah, let's try for a 3rd, and let's see how it goes. And,
it's
you don't know when you're trying for babies. And
it's crazy how many babies were born during COVID.
Yeah, definitely.
It's a pure opposite. It's either a lot more divorces or a lot more babies. So it's either reconnected or disconnected families.
Mate, 100%. It's sorry, I'm just taking these speakers out because they're dying on me. So
yeah, no worries. I'll ask you a quick question. This is the whole time. What's the dinosaur behind you? I know that's pure off topic. I keep seeing a dinosaur. What is that?
Mate, I've tried moving that before. So that's actually a Nerf gun target. So I'm in my son's bedroom because it's close to the Wi-Fi. I never do podcasts from home. I'm always at the warehouse with like the speakers and the proper setup. And because it's 8 p.m. over here and helping out with new bub and nighttime routine, it didn't make sense for me to drive 20 minutes back to the warehouse to do a podcast and then come back. So, mate, I'm in his toy room at the moment, and I'm lucky I'm facing this way because it's a bombshell with toys everywhere over here. So
I love it. It's authentic. We talked about that.
Yeah, mate, 100%.
So, fitness-wise, give me a day of yours, morning routine, night routine. Give me a routine day of the life of Leroy, fitness-wise.
Yeah. So I train 6 days a week, Monday to Saturday. Sunday, I don't rule it out. If I wake up and I feel like training, then I will. If I don't, then I'll also sleep in or just take the kids on an adventure to the beach or the park or whatever the case may be. But I'm up at 3:30, 4 a.m. every day. And the reason I get up at that hour is it's the only time that I can dedicate to myself without the demands of the rest of the world pulling me from 10 different angles. And that goes with the family as well. I never want to take away from the time that I can potentially, stay with them. So, by me getting up at that time, getting to the gym, 4:35 a.m., and I'm able to get my weights done, any cardio I want to get done, any core stability stuff, I can take the dog for a walk, and I can get all this done by the time the kids wake up in the morning. Then I can become dad. I can, help out with morning routines, school drop-offs, new bub. Obviously the house is a little bit more hectic at the moment in school. We just come off 2 weeks school holidays yesterday. So, it's back into school routine and all that kind of different stuff as well. So, mate, it's I don't mind it. It means I go to bed at 9 or 10 at night instead of staying awake watching Netflix till 11 or 12 at night and then getting up at 7 and all this kind of stuff. And I find getting that gym routine done, or run or hike or whatever I decide to do that morning or whatever the goals are at the time, it sort of sets me up for the rest of the day as well. It allows me to tick that first box. No one can take that first goal or that first task away from me for that day. And it's something that I find with a lot of fathers and, people in general, when they plan to train after work, like they wonder why it never happens because the kids have got school sports or the kids get sent home from school sick or work, you have to stay back a little bit longer or the meeting goes over time or, there's a traffic accident or, all these different, events and all these different situations that can occur later on in the day that can stop you from doing that goal.
Yeah.
And that's probably the main reason why I get up at that time is just to sort of, give myself that best possible start to the day. It doesn't take away from any of the time with the family, which is the most important thing, and also allows me to chat with different people on different time zones as well. So, if I am dealing with any clients or any business, things overseas, then it allows me to catch these people during their workday as well, and I can tick those boxes as well.
Yeah, I love that. I mean, I call it to 3 to 7, so I'm always home 3 to 7 p.m. every single night. I try to have dinner with my family every single night, and I'm up at 4:30. So when we started this podcast, it was 6 a.m. here, so I'm up at 4:30 every day. I'm in the office already, and I do it. I don't like waking up early. But I do it because I sacrifice myself, knowing if I sacrifice myself to get up earlier and do my morning routine and do my stuff and get them out of the way, it allows me to have that free time from 3 to 7 to be home with the family. So it's certain sacrifices you got to put in place and put your non-negotiables. What things in your life are going to be locked in and blocked in or non-negotiables. And from 3 to 7, it's hiking, it's biking, it's sports with the kids. Like you said, it's family time, it's dinner time. So that time is phones off. I'm present. I'm focused on my family. And because I run 3 or 4 companies, I have to have that extra time in the morning to be able to do my stuff and take care of myself and my health and all that stuff, just like you. So I appreciate that. I always ask a couple questions. If something were to happen to you today, in a few words, how would you want to be remembered or described by your loved ones?
By the loved ones, I would hope that it was something along the lines of never left a stone unturned. So I never want to pass away with regret. I don't want to get 10 years, 20 years down the track with regret. I'll give everything an opportunity. I'll give everyone an opportunity. But if either one of those things, don't pan out the right way, I'm very, easy to flick the switch as well. And I can cut people off just as quick as I, let people in, and I can cut things off as quick as I, start them. So I think, someone who tried to deliver the world, and, hopefully done a good job on, building the foundations and, the framework to set the family up for, the best possible success going forward if I wasn't here to continue it for them.
I love that. We're very similar. Like everything you're saying is me in a nutshell, right? I try to never live my life with regrets. And I think that's very, very important. And I think it's honestly something that a lot of people, because when you're young, I mean, time is abundance. And as you get older, you realize time is a currency, right? And I always say this is it takes sometimes somebody in their 30s or early 40s before they understand not to live with regret, because things happen in seconds. Right? You lose a loved one and then you didn't make that phone call or you didn't go spend the time with them. So I love what you said, that with living without regret, because I think it's such a powerful thing. If you actually have that mindset every single day, you live a lot more of a complete life. I think I appreciate that. Yeah. If you had a superpower, what would it be?
My superpower would be, this is a good one. I never had that question before. I think it would be this is going to sound a bit weird, but to allow your dreams, whatever you dream, to come true. You have the choice that if you have a dream,
you have a bad dream.
Yeah, but you have the choice. So some of the bad dreams might be interesting as well. But yeah, I think if you had that choice to, I guess, teleport into that reality. I think that'd be pretty cool. I guess, it'd be mixed between time travel and also, teleporting into some mystical world that your head's going through.
Fitness accomplishments. Do you have any fitness accomplishments that you've done that you're proud of, whether it's a marathon or anything like that?
I've never done a marathon. I did a bodybuilding comp back in 2016. I didn't play, so I didn't get in any of the things, but it was just something that I needed to kick off.
That's just
actually, probably about 15. But yeah, it's
6 years ago, not too long ago.
Yeah, not too long ago, and it was just something that because I was in that fitness industry and I had all these mates that were training and that, I thought, if I don't do it, once again, living with regret, then I'll never know what I could push the body to. I'll never know its limits, and I'll never know, what works and, what the body responds to. Would I do it again? No. I hated every minute of
such an unhealthy lifestyle doing that.
Yeah, it is. And
I did 3 competitions, 18, 19, I was 18 years old, 19 years old, and 20 years old. I'll send you pictures, but I was 18, 19, and 20, and I did 3 competitions, and it's such an unhealthy lifestyle.
Yeah, 100%. And I found it was that, that yo-yo, and exactly like every other person out there, it was go hard for 3 months, 6 months, whatever the case is, get on the show, but then the very next day fly over to Thailand and drink every cocktail and beer under the sun and pizza, and then blow out, and then, go hard again for 3 more months and shred up again. And it was like, what is this, yo-yo of just consistently, good, bad, good, bad? Why can't I just stay at 80% good at all times, still enjoy what I want to enjoy, and not have the pressures of everything else? And I think that's something that I've learned to now grasp, and not realize that you don't need that six-pack at all times. You don't need that toned body at all times, but you need that happiness with yourself. And,
you need to put, health and fitness should be, I always tell people, I'm always preaching family and then business under, but I always still put my health above everything else. I'm a strong believer, mentally, physically, spiritually, you have to take care of yourself before you're able to serve others. So taking care of yourself is a priority in my life always. But it's that it is a yo-yo. I used to be like 240. I'm 6'2", so I was 245, competing at 195, 192, and then it was just that yo-yo. And I did that for 3 years. And your body takes such a wear and tear, and the draining of the and the dehydration and the water, and just so brutal, man, so brutal mentally, and you're never happy with yourself. You won't find one bodybuilder in the world that's satisfied with their body.
It was the one night, I guess from a picture or, how the body looked that night, if you looked at that, you'd think that's the best you've ever felt, or that's the best you've ever been. But it was the one time in my life I hated how I felt. It looked the best, but hated how I felt. And, I'm 10 times more happier with how I am now with probably carrying a couple extra kilos and, always got room to, do a little bit better, but still be able to go out with the boys or go for a hit of golf and have a couple of beers or go out with the kids and have pizza or, and be able to live.
It's all about balance, right?
It is, yeah, 100%.
I call my fitness now is heart attack prevention. As long as I take care of myself and I'm in overall, like I said, a good 75 to 80% range where you're focused on, you don't have to worry about having a six pack all the time. It's just always obviously when the summer ramps up, you get a little leaner. That's just the way it is. That's right. You want to have that dad and you don't want to have the dad bod, but then in the wintertime, you just let it go a little bit, but it's just the way it is. Right. I appreciate this, man. I want to ask you one more quick question. You said you had mentioned about your wife and your wife seems very similar to my wife, a very supportive person. What does your wife mean to you and how has she been there and impacted your life? We'll end it with that.
Yeah, mate. Means the absolute world, obviously. But she was born to be a mother. I honestly, I think my love for her and my, when she became a mum or when we become parents 7 years ago was the moment I think I fell in love with her even more, because just the natural instinct that she had for nurturing kids and doing absolutely everything. Like everything was about the kids. It was herself, her body, everything becomes secondary to what the kids' needs were, to what my needs were. And, she's always been that rock and that, support network, of being there for everything that, the kids need first and foremost, and, what I need, what the business needs. And, mate, it's, once the body recovers from obviously the latest birth, it's time now with the business and, everything in the position that we're in to start giving a lot more back to her and be able to, start putting her back on that pedestal and allow her to, flourish and do the things that she wants to do, whether they are any entrepreneurial things or whether it's, whatever it is, it doesn't matter. She can take the pick and, mate, it's time to put her back on top and, show the kids how amazing and, perfect she is and, what she's done for them.
Yeah, it's amazing. Like those mother instincts that kick in is, my wife's a very simple person. So I'm the hustler. I'm the go, 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 go. And my wife's just laid back in the background, just does her stuff. My wife's, is a saying she always says, and I always tell everybody, like my wife always says, if today doesn't change, it was a good day. It's all about simplicity, and her good life is a healthy family and building memories with your family. That's all it is. Those two vacations a year, building memories, making sure everybody's healthy, everybody's good, and just always the same exact same as your wife. She's always just taking care, making sure everything's okay, making sure everything's okay. And it's and we're, like I said, we're pure opposites. I'm the go, go, go. She's not, but that gives me that grounded balance when I come home.
Yeah, mate. I think I'm exactly the same, and she is very similar to that as well. And she's not materialistic at all. Hates designer stuff. Hates
same as my
fancy cars. Will never wear a Gucci this. Like, is happy to go to Kmart or Target and get a tracksuit pants, or whatever, and she's good to go. And but at the same time, she can turn it up a notch and switch it on if she needs to, as well. So, mate, I think that grounding, especially for people, like yourself and you like me and, a lot of the other entrepreneurs out there doing that thing, you really need that, because I think it'd be scary if you had a partner who was on that same wavelength or had those same ideas. It would just be, I don't know, it would be crazy.
I appreciate this, brother. We've been on this for an hour, and I'm going to let you head to bed and start your day in the morning. And I appreciate you coming on. This has been a great little chat. I'm excited to get to know you a lot more, because obviously we have a lot of things in common in our goals and our vision and our of fatherhood and entrepreneurialism and all that stuff like that. So I appreciate you, brother. Anything you want to leave off with the crowd?
Mate, there's two statistics, and being a father, I want the crowd to just understand these two numbers. So the average father spends 34 meaningful minutes with their children every single day. So I want you to try and better that by 1% every day moving forward. And, that's not time where you're, watching TV together, or you're in the car on the way to school, or anything like that. This is one-on-one time, technology free, distraction free, and just
Right.
one-on-one time. And number two, 80% of the time you ever spend with your children is over by the time they turn 18.
Yeah.
So I just
I
want you to
use that
realize
stat
that.
all the time. I love that.
Yeah. And, when you stop to think about where your kids are right now,
Yeah.
so if they're at 9 years old right now, then 40% is already done. And I want you to realize that, when you get to 18 and your kids take on the world with whatever they decide to do and wherever they decide to do it, you're not going to be able to do what you think you do right now. And you can look back to your own personal journey from when you turned 18 and, you didn't want to be around mum and dad. You wanted to be here, there, and everywhere. And I think that, parents, put work and put all these different things at the forefront, which, I understand and you need to do, because if you need to provide for the family and, all these different things, but just understand that the time is so short and that you don't want to live with regrets in 10 years' time by the things that you could be doing today. So, mate, that would be what I would love to leave for any of the dads listening and, parents in general listening to your podcast is, just take a step back, visualize the room or visualize your current situation and see how you can make that improved.
Yeah, I love that. And that's something we talk about all the time is that stat, like, it's funny you said 80%, because I've always thought it was 90%. What I've read, it was 90% of the face time you have with your kids before the age of 18. And it's something I preach too is being present, which is exactly what you said, actually being present. A lot of dads will come home and sit down and they're on their phone, their kids on their tablet, their video game on the other couch, and that they think they're spending quality time with their kids, and it's not. It's getting up and being actually present with them. So I appreciate that very much, brother. And how could our audience get a hold of you? I'm going to put on all the show notes, how to check you out on your Facebook, how to all your social media, how to get a hold of your supplements. But how could the audience get a hold of you if they wanted to?
Yeah, so it's the Fit Dad Lifestyle across all the socials and podcast, Fit Dad Lifestyle community on Facebook, which is our private group, and then the fitdadlifestyle.com, which is the website.
I appreciate it, brother. Thank you so much.
Mate, highly appreciate it, and looking forward to our chat on the Reverse podcast tomorrow morning.
Love it. Love it. Thanks, brother.
Thanks, mate.
That's a wrap for today. I want to thank our guest, Leroy Faure from Fit Dad Lifetsyle, for taking time out of his busy schedule to be a guest on the Jeff Knows Inc. podcast. What a great conversation. If you guys enjoy this podcast as much as we have, please tell your friends, tell your family, spread the word. Leave a review. 5 stars would be absolutely amazing. We love spending time reading our reviews. Until next week, guys, keep moving forward.